Hello, everyone. This is Bill Griffin. Welcome to Different Take Podcast. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. I really appreciate you watching new episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today, I want to talk about how we treat children, particularly other people's children. Maybe we treat our children differently, but it seems that our society in the United States is not that interested in protecting children. So there's a litany of things I see, and this is no particular order, but I'm going to start with education in the United States and what happened during the COVID shutdown, the effect on children's education. This is from PBS, September 1, 2022.
As we reported, new test results show a significant drop in test scores and learning for elementary school-age children in the United States. The decline in reading and math for 9-year-olds were the largest in several decades. Math scores dropped even more among Black students, and the declines were sharpest among students still struggling with very basic math skills and simple reading. This all comes amid great concern about learning loss.
So COVID hits, and the focus on blaming Donald Trump and getting him replaced was far more important than protecting children. That's my opinion. And one of the things that's in this TV news report is that the effect of, and the title was 1 year, it's really more like 2 years, that you're going to remote learn with 6, 7, 8-year-olds, 5-year-olds. You to do remote learning, and they're going to learn that way. That's ridiculous. The shutdowns affected things like parks, interactions with other kids, their family. They didn't see their grandparents, for example. Sports, couldn't play sports. And of course, going to school in person is far better than doing this online in most situations. So it's kind of ironic that 70-year-olds would say, my health is so at risk, you can't go to school for 2 years, to their grandchildren. I don't think most grandparents think that way. I think they were willing to take the risk. But that's my opinion. This is another video on the subject of what children went through by wearing masks for all this COVID period. And I've shown this video in another episode, but I don't think anyone gets tired of seeing it.
Starting tomorrow, we don't have to wear masks anymore!
One user on YouTube, when seeing that video, said this. This is from GeoStruff on YouTube. It's terrible that they were subjected to this. I'm sorry, parents, but my kids are all grown up now. I'm a senior citizen, but if I was raising kids today, I'd pull them out of school to protect them mentally and physically. I would have never made my kids mask up. I protect my kids, not the government. Another person says, it's heartbreaking to see that these children are so happy for something that should have never been taken away from them. Let's hope the damage isn't permanent. So you can see by their exhilaration of having them taking the mask off how terribly damaging. That's indicative of how terribly damaging it was to mask kids up for that length of time. Forcing, COVID thing again, forcing children to take a vaccine that is not tested. It has not been properly or tested. Testing protocols that were enforced for other vaccines were not enforced here. And the reporting, the indications are the reportings have not been good. In other words, the reportings would be ignored if there were any kind of side effects. Sending children to public schools that are really not very good. They haven't been good for a long time in many, many places. Not all, but a lot of public schools, especially big cities, are horrible, but parents send their kids there. And there's social emotional learning that where maybe for good reason, society says, well, we'll teach the kids values because their parents just won't do it. And they're just not going to do it. So we need to teach them values instead of the skills that they're should be, most parents would want them to teach them the skills, not values to live by. But that's not what's happening in our society. Maybe well-intentioned, but it doesn't work for most parents. This is from National Review. It says August 26, 2022. Headline, a federal appeals court blocked a Biden administration plan Friday that would coerce doctors to perform gender transition medical procedures and abortions that violate their conscience or medical judgment. So we're trying to protect children, and by having minors mutilate their bodies and undergo castration and abortion and so forth and so on. Not good. One thing that I noticed that's anti-family in the area I live in is high-density apartment buildings. Massive apartment complexes are not family-friendly. And is it wrong for parents to raise their children as if they're born a male, raise them as a boy? In other words, buy them clothes that are typically what boys wear, toys. They refer to them as boy. Everybody in their family refers to them as boy. And of course, the same with girls. They put bows in their hairs, babies, and dresses and so forth and so on. You're raising your child as the sex they're born in. Is that wrong? Well, apparently so, according to this. This was written in May 2018. This is from the University of Pennsylvania. This is a guide for educators in pre-K through 12. This is an excerpt. Asking students of all ages what name and pronouns they would like you to use is a great first step. Educators in pre-K through 12 schools may think their students are too young for a conversation about pronouns. I'll stop there. Educators, the hell with parents, what they think. The hell with them, according to this literature. Educators in pre-K through 12 schools may think their students are too young for a conversation about pronouns, especially if they don't think there are any transgender or gender non-conforming students in their classrooms. But by asking students their pronouns starting at a young age, educators can make room for students who may be exploring their gender identity and show everyone that gender identity should not be assumed. Okay, do parents really want their children who they've been raising as the sex that they were born with, do they really want their teachers in every class that they go through, all from K all the way through 12, asking them to question this by asking, what are your personal pronouns? Now, I know what the counter argument is. The counter argument is, well, if they're comfortable with it, there's nothing wrong with asking them that. I don't think many parents would agree with this, because this is inviting conversation into topics on which the children, they don't want the children discussing with the teachers. They don't want their children asking the teachers question about sexual matters. They want to have those, the parents want to have those conversations. So you want to usurp the parents' rights to do that and insert your own explanations or the government's explanations, not the parents' values. So it's an erosion of parental rights. Clearly, that's what that is, and which hurts the children by and large. When you tell children, we will teach you values, we will teach you what sexual orientation is at a very early age, which means you have to learn what sex is at an early age, because children ask questions and children overhear other conversations with students and their pupils. I'm sorry, teachers and their pupils. And lastly, from California, this is California Constitution. Article 1, Declaration of Rights. Section 1, all people are by nature free and independent and have inalienable rights. Among these are enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety, happiness, and privacy. And this is a proposed amendment to that section. That section 1.1 is added to Article 1 to read section 1.1, the state shall not deny or interfere with an individual's reproductive freedom and their most intimate decisions, which includes their fundamental right to choose to have an abortion and their fundamental right to choose or refuse contraceptives. This section is intended to further the constitutional right to privacy guaranteed by Section 1 and the constitutional right to not be denied equal protection guaranteed by Section 7. Nothing herein narrows or limits the right to privacy or equal protection. So this will be on the ballot this November 2022, that the unborn child will have zero legal protection up until the time they're born. Zero. This is considered barbaric across the world, that you would not have some legal protection for an unborn child. And there's a whole lot of other things I could talk about, but there's a litany of things that we just don't value children, especially other people's children. Sometimes, in many cases, people don't value their own children enough. But certainly, other people's children, that's other people. The parents, they're not going to do a good job, so the government has to do the job for them. And most societies in the world don't ascribe to this theory, but in the United States, that seems to be the way we're going. So that's my episode for today. I would hope that we would treat children better in the future. And I really appreciate you watching. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share, comment, and thank you.